How about now? Is that one working?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? People hear
Yeah,
that?
got it.
Well, that's concerning. We'll go with it. All right, well, they can only hear the voices, Jake, so I hope you were not looking for any multimedia experiences on this episode here. Yeah. You will not hear the intro music. You will not hear the outro music. We will do it all in post, and you will like it.
No. They're saying they heard background music, so...
That's because it was coming from my mic. Oh, so they want that? Right. You want that music still? Here. Now they have music again. All right. We are so old school. We're playing music like we are doing it off an iPod directly into my audio interface.
We've actually got just like a microphone right next to an old like ghetto blaster.
No, it's a iPod in a glass.
Yeah. It's like reminding me of the days when you wanted to copy a cassette tape, so you had the deck with two
things.
You would like put in the play in one and then a blank one, and then you'd hit like play and record at the same time.
I don't think I ever did that. I think only my older brother did, and I witnessed it one time. So
that's 6 years age difference between
the generation gap. Yeah,
that's where it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and you and my brother I think are the same age, so this makes sense.
I recorded it off the radio too. I remember recording Alanis Morissette's "Ironic" off the radio, and Smashing Pumpkins. Lots of good stuff off the radio onto my cassette tapes, so I could listen to it in my Walkman.
Oh yeah, you do sound like you're using your bad mic.
Do I?
Yeah.
I thought I fixed that. Microphone. Oh yeah.
How about now? I think you're getting ducked. How about now?
Am I getting ducked? Hello,
there you
hello.
Go. I think you were getting ducked by the music.
Oh, cool.
So this is great all around.
Yeah, this is a great kickoff to the summer.
It,
love it.
Should we do the show since it's not getting any better technically than this?
Yeah, it's not gonna improve. We better just get it over with.
All right, and we got to do the music in post. Jake sounds good. I sound okay. I think we're good. I hear some.
Good.
Okay. I heard some audio hum. We're good. Everything's fine.
Can I just beatbox the audio theme?
I mean, if you want to do an acapella intro. Thank God we don't have a guest today. That we just decided this is a Jake and Anthony situation.
Yeah. We've taken some guests through some fun technical troubleshooting before, though.
I'm a little bummed that our particular guest that we reach out to didn't work out.
Yeah, that's a story for the next Off-Nominal meetup.
Yeah. Still possible. All right, let's do this.
It could still happen. We'll see.
I'll do the intro. Imagine you can hear the intro music.
All right, I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it in my heart.
Jake, this podcast is a chronicle of our friendship, if nothing else.
Oh, that definitely is true. Yes.
But there's one thing that you don't know about me. Well, there's probably several, but one of them is today is my favorite day of the year, like across the board.
Today, like this date, May 28th?
No, Friday of Memorial Day weekend is a holiday where I'm from, you know?
Yeah.
You get like several hours. If it wasn't absolutely shit weather out and this whole weekend, several hours ago, I would have been in a car on the way to the shore. That's just what you do. You grow up in South Jersey, like you're going to the shore Friday, Memorial Day weekend. It's the summer, like basically a holiday, you know?
Yeah,
School sucks that day. You're just mad about it that you even had to go. So excellent day to have an Off-Nominal episode on. I'm really glad that this worked out because it's like...
I like that, so this holiday, because Canada had it last week. We have our Victoria Day. So this
You always
Monday
do stuff early, like just a little bit early.
1 week early, yeah. But it's everywhere you go though, this weekend has like a particular like tradition to it, and every region has like a different tradition. Like I grew up in Alberta, and it was always like we called it May Long weekend, May Long for short, and you like go camping and you drink a lot. That's like yeah. So what are you doing for May Long? Oh, we're going up to Banff to camp. Like that's just what you did. And then I moved to Ontario, and it's not called May Long there. It's called May 2-4. because of the beer. And you go out to your cottage, not a cabin, it's a cottage in Ontario, and you go out there by the lake and you drink beer. So now I learned that you have the shore. That's yours.
Yeah, this is the start of summer, like culturally, if not actually. So.
Yeah, totally.
But we're heading into, as you and I were discussing, the low attention summer. You know, like everybody is going to be checked out of everything for the next several months.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen this summer.
Yeah. So if you did not get something out of somebody that you needed, like check back after Labor Day. I don't know. I assume you do that like early July, just a couple of weeks early.
Yeah. Actually, you guys start school before us in the fall, so that's role reversal there usually.
Some of us.
Yeah.
Some of us do. What are you drinking? You got drinks? This is an early one. We're doing a matinee here.
Yeah, matinee. We're going to helping out our European friends, which we like to do from time to time. And also, we just thought that most people would probably be doing what you just said, is packing up the car and heading out to the shore. So I thought I'd get it done earlier. I got a weird one today. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but it's bourbon blood orange wheat ale. So I don't even know what this is going to taste like. That's like a lot of flavors that I don't really know how to synthesize in my head. So we're going to see what it's like. Bridge Brewing, which is in North Vancouver, which is pretty cool. And this may be the last Vancouver beer I drink on this show. We don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
We got some news to talk about, I guess.
We do have a little bit of news, yeah, because this is definitely going to be the last time that you viewers on Off-Nominal will see this room. Because I'm moving. I'm leaving Vancouver. It's over. Getting out of here. That's the story.
That's the news.
Yeah.
A bottle of wine today, Jake. Focusing. I've got a little Vernaccia di San Gimignano here. A great little white wine for the summertime. Very refreshing. So I'm doing it different today, Jake. Usually you expect a beer, but look, it's summer.
It's always a special Off-Nominal when you don't have a Yards Brewery beer. Yeah.
I was close to having a victory, Summer Love, but I did not. Where do we want to start? We got a list of topics that range in spaciness, I would say.
Okay.
Do you want to start in space or non-space?
I think we should start in space. Yeah, let's stay on brand for what the show is.
Okay. So Long March 5B. Do we want to talk about that?
Okay. Yeah, this is a fun one.
If you have not been up on the news, there was a Long March 5B launch. They don't deorbit the core stage, which they like to refer to it. Actually, I believe that I forget which agency in China is in charge of the Long March 5B, but whoever it is, I believe listens to your podcast. Because you often describe SLS that the core stage is actually an upper stage that is ground lit.
Yeah.
And whatever agency of China was saying that the core stage of the Long March 5B was actually an upper stage because it gets into orbit.
Yeah.
So I don't want to blame you, but how do you feel about that being used? Your famous line being used that way.
Well, I'm delighted that my market penetration behind the Great Firewall is improving, so I will take that as a win. But it's weird. So it's funny because like this is one of those space stories that like reached outside of the spacosphere, like where this is one where you're like your mom is texting you like, do I have to worry about a rocket falling on my house? And then I'm like, no, Mom, you're at 49 degrees. Don't worry about it. But
you had the legitimate excuse to say,
you're never going to be able to actually like have that explanation though. Like there's no way to like explain it to a non-space person. Like, no, there's like either you lie to them or either they're safe and they don't understand why they're safe, or they're like probably safe, but they don't understand how to process that probability. And they have no way to synthesize like why that is true. So you're just like, just don't worry about it. Like just...
Both times, this Long March 5B and the previous one, the ground track was over Philly several times within the window on both of them. So I didn't have that luxury to say, no, Mom, it's not. My feathers are a little ruffled about this story, mostly because, like, there's no coverage other than Andrew Jones's Twitter feed when boosters are dropping on anyone in China. But the like mere chance that a COPV is going to land in your backyard is like Lester Holtz talking about it in the nightly news here, you know? So I'm a little annoyed, I would say.
Yeah. That's how it goes, I guess.
Proximity bias.
I don't know. There's not
proximity
much
bias.
more to say about that.
It's a thing that bums me out. I do think, though, we can come up with some strategies for handling space debris generally.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out if we want to get too deep into this topic, but I was trying to figure out like that the issue that everyone always says is like who's in charge of it, right? Because wherever you launch from, they're technically in charge of it, and there's no real enforcement of leaving debris up, right? A good example, SpaceX's Starlink rods that I had railed against for a long time of like what's going on with these deployment rods that you will not show us.
And they're still
recently
up there.
Some of them are deorbiting faster, but there's like at least 8 that are going to be up there for a long time, and I was kind of annoyed about that.
Even some of the new ones, right? Like they started like deploying them lower, and then all of a sudden they went back up.
There was
again,
one
right?
with the rideshare launch that they deployed a lot higher than that. So there's just these 4 giant rods that are like above the ISS still, and that bugs me, you know. I don't know.
And Mr. Holt's not talking about that.
No, he's not talking about the Starlink rods. But I'm trying to figure out a policy where like, because the issue is who's in charge of it and who pays for debris removal. So I'm trying to figure out if you can set up a system where, and this might have to be country by country, where like you are fined or penalized if you leave debris of a certain size in orbit, and they use the fines to cover the cost of missions to go and clear debris objects.
Isn't that part of the Artemis Accords? Isn't there a space debris thing in that?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
I wonder if that's sort of the idea. It'd be like a framework that everyone kind of signs onto, and then
we need some way to get a bunch of money to like.
Yeah.
Envisat is the big one, right? That's the huge dead ESA satellite that's like enormous and has always been dead. And
I don't know that one.
That's the one that essentially they're working up to that with the debris removal projects that are going on in Europe. You know, they're like
that's public enemy number one.
Yeah,
in
but
it
takes a while to get there. So they're like, let's start with these smaller ones. But I don't know. I think you and I we could run this like intergovernmental organization to handle space debris.
Oh, okay.
Because it's instantly then an international collaboration.
Yeah. You got a quarter of the G8, I think, in there. But
yeah, we can see like we at least got a good start.
Okay, yeah.
We can get Matt from Interplanetary.
20% of the Artemis group is in there.
JB would probably be in.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, JB.
Friend of the show. There we go. We get it all worked out.
So it's similar topic about the like your mom being worried that it was going to land on her. Was that an actual text? Was she actually worried?
No, my mom was. Actually, my wife was, though.
Okay.
And it was funny because she was just like, okay, well, so it's going to come down somewhere. Do you know where? I'm like, no. They're like, well, how much warning are you going to get? I'm like, you'll see it before you get warning. Like, you'll see it coming.
Too late.
And she's kind of like, that's normal? That's okay? I'm like, it's not okay.
Is normal, not okay. Long story.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm trying to draw a line between Long March 5B and all of the UFO stories of late. And just like low effort journalism because people have a very quick reaction to these stories. Like China rocket going to fall on your house. Oh, got to click that. And then
I was looking for a reason to be mad at China, so this is actually really convenient.
Man. Oh, I got a lot of angles to take on that one. You know, Chinese rocket leaks out of the lab, something like that. UFO stories, though, are sort of the inverse, where it's like there is no back half of the story. Because it's like, I don't know, thermal imaging. What do you think? You know, and then it's just kind of an empty story, whereas at least the 5B has some legitimate follow-up that you can actually walk people through. Because there's explanations of the UFO stories out there if you really want them. Like, and be like, well, even Roswell. Like, we know what that was, and yet it maintains this supremacy in history of, like, the Roswell UFO incident. So I'm just trying to. I guess I'm trying to psychoanalyze the public, and when it comes to like space communication on these stories. You haven't been following UFO stuff.
No, I haven't. And this is an interesting point because there was a podcast I listened to. God, I'm trying to remember now what one it was. Oh, I think it was actually a 538 podcast, and they had on these people that were talking about conspiracy theories. This is all related to the election fraud stuff that was going on. So they had these like academics who like studied conspiracy theories and how they spread and stuff. And some of them are like very pervasive, like the idea of like, deep state or something is like a pretty universal conspiracy theory that can be applied kind of no matter where you go. But some of them, like UFOs, is actually a very regional thing. And it's basically the United States and Brazil. It's like the two places, or maybe it was Argentina. It was some country in South America. There's like the two places where everyone is like UFOs, and everywhere else is just like, what are you talking about? They're not real. Like, and they just move on. Like there's no foothold for it at all. So thinking about that, because you kept saying like we should do this UFO, and I'm like, I have not.
You have no opinion. Yeah, it's like irrelevant to your life.
I'm like, well,
people have been like captured by this story for weeks down here, and I really don't understand like what is. I mean, I get why people are interested in it, but like, I feel like when you get really into these stories and you see people that are like legitimately convinced of like these encounters or whatever, they have like detached from the everyday reality of the technology that surrounds them. You know? It's crazy to me. But I don't know. I just was kind of marveling at these similarities in these storylines, and yet here we are. We always have these stories in our life.
So, we do, yeah. They're consistent and persistent.
The UFO thing, early UFO stuff, right? 60s, Cold War era stuff. Mm-hmm. I forget where I heard this, but apparently the agencies in the U.S. that would really like the UFO story to have proliferated were putting people into these communities to be like the UFO guy. And like say, oh my God, I saw some crazy stuff flying around. So they were literally planting people into these certain communities to generate this hype because it was a useful cover story. And it's like very similar to, we're just now off into conspiracy theory tangent, I guess. The first book ever published with JFK assassination conspiracies was funded by a KGB project. They funded the book publisher that published that book. Yikes. Because they were worried that people would think it was the Soviets that were responsible. Because it's just this crazy thing where like...
It's propaganda.
It literally was. It was a book publisher funded by the KGB because they were worried about it being pinned on them. So they started this whole thing, and then we ran with it. If there is one thing we're good at in this country, it is running with it. You know? We will keep the Roswell thing alive. I saw some people in the chat wondering about Roswell. It was, I forget the name of the project, but it was high-altitude balloons that were monitoring for nuclear testing done by the Soviet Union. And then that is what crashed. And they like said it days later after the Roswell incident. And everyone was like, okay, cool. And then 30 years later, there was like, what if it was an alien?
And 30 years later, you have the X-Files, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Huh. Okay.
Anyway, so that's what's been going on down here, south of 49 degrees north. What else you got? We got I got this list here of topics, and one of them that I want to pin you down on is your ridiculous theories of Starship's orbital test flight.
Oh man, I really.
Now, this is your conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I'm. Some of it, I'm not convinced isn't wrong yet. So like, we're gonna see. But yeah, no. So we got like some details on the first orbital Starship flight, like what they want to do with it. And so it's like it launches from Boca Chica, and then the booster comes back, and then goes all the way around, and it lands in the water. Starship lands in the water off of the coast of Hawaii, so just north of Kauai. But that's not a full way around the Earth, right? Because you don't get all the way back to Texas. And so I was kind of wondering, like, is this an orbital flight? And at first I got distracted because I was doing the math in my head, and I'm like, I don't know how you get up to the latitude of Kauai when you're that far around the world. So like I started wondering what direction it was launching, or if there was like a dogleg maneuver or something, but sorted that out. It's fine. It's the right direction. But I still am wondering though, if it's actually like a suborbital flight, because it's a 90-minute flight, but it doesn't make it a full orbit. And so like something's wonky there with the timing. And so I'm kind of like wondering if it's like a really high apogee suborbital flight, so they can like get up and get some good velocity coming in to test the heat shield, and also stretch that time out so that it fits within that window. That's my like conspiracy theory. I could be totally wrong, because they say it would be like 1,500, 2,000 kilometers maybe.
Okay, so you did this. That's high. That's really high.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, right? Because if you, and the benefit of that is if your reentry burn fails or something, you still come down at the right spot, right? You know, it's a ballistic trajectory, so you don't have to worry about that. Because the worst thing would be if it failed and then we had another Long March 5B, but it was a Starship, right?
All right, you're convincing me a little on that point. I'm still like, why would they not just go into orbit and then deorbit? Like, that's not.
I'm totally ready to be wrong. Like,
okay.
But my theory on that though is why do that is because then you don't have to install the vacuum Raptors. You can cut all that out of your development path,
but they
right? You just
need to get okay. I guess I see your point. I'm less mad at you than I thought I was about this theory. I'm realizing that you have really more reasoning behind it, but it just still sounds totally wrong.
It could be. I said totally ready to be wrong, but if they really want to put the pedal to the metal and get this thing flying sooner rather than later, from a Silicon Valley minimum viable product approach, cut out all the vacuum plumbing.
Everything. Yeah.
You fly it basically as it is, plus heat shields, heat tiles, and then you're good to go. Put it in a suborbital trajectory, and then it comes down, right? And then you just do everything the same. So it's a quicker path to that first flight, rather than going through all that plumbing and getting the new RVACs out there and doing all that. Blah,
Man,
blah, blah.
I'm way less. This is a worse segment than I thought it was going to be, because I'm much less. After talking with you now, I'm less mad at your reasoning. And at least 50, if not 80% of your reasoning sounds like SpaceX reasoning. Of like, well, this, that, and this. We don't need to worry about it. Cut that. You know, the scene from The Martian where they're just throwing seats out of the ascent vehicle, like that model. I'm now less mad about it, and it sounds less crazy.
Yeah.
I think I was alarmed at how high that is. I don't know why. It's like a fear of heights latent in me, but because it's not like 300, 1,000. Not that it's a big difference, but it's like on the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a difference.
Yeah, probably not. Like I don't know what the entry velocity of that would be if you know versus coming in from 400 kilometers. I have done that much math on it, but eventually they want to test it from lunar reentry, right? And so. And
then you think about like EFT-1, right? That went to 3,600 kilometers, so that they could test that in higher entry velocity. Okay, yeah. There's more reasoning in this than my initial listen to your podcast and then get mad in the car kind of thing that I was doing. All right, well, moving on. We're doing a lightning round basically because we've just got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
The Russians are out of things to do on the ISS, so they've decided to turn it into a theme park for the remainder of the year. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So I think the Russian space program is in way worse shape than anyone talks about. So I totally get it. I was totally happy to roast them though on Twitter because they have these. What is it? It's an actress and a director coming up soon for one of their flights or whatever. So this woman will be the second Russian woman that they send to the space station ever. Like literally ever.
Let it sink in, peeps.
20 years of occupation on the International Space Station. Russia has been a partner since day one. It took them until 2014 before they sent their first woman cosmonaut up, and she was the last one. So that took some people by surprise, I think, on Twitter. Yeah. I'm like, they're going to double the amount of women they send up there. And they're just like, wait, are you
tweet where it's really snarky and then very insightful. And then, it's the full cycle there.
So
it is crazy. And it makes all the
diversity thing.
Yeah. And it reinforces the fact that in the original space race, it was like, what can we do first next?
Yeah.
A woman. you know, because they're clearly not committed to it overall.
Yeah, because once they got the first woman in space out of the way and the first woman spacewalk, because they won both of those races, once they got that done, it was like, see you later. Like,
yeah, makes me think
again.
What was going on in 2014. They were like, oh, I guess somebody maybe brought up we've never flown a Russian woman.
Probably,
like, crap.
Like token, right? So sucky, but
should be fun to talk to if we can. You know anyone we can reach out to?
Yeah.
If anyone knows anyone related to any cosmonauts,
hey,
just hit us up.
I know you're not busy, so.
All right, so that's the other thing. Then we've got Dear Moon himself going up on the flight after that. So
this is weird to me, and people, I don't know, they were like, it's not weird. Like, he's rich and he wants to go to space, so he's just gonna go to space. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it's like, I guess if you're like if you've got like your lunar tourism or your space tourism checklist, and you're like, I gotta get all this done before I die. ISS is on that list, so I kind of get that, but I don't know. It feels weird.
Definitely
it feels
not
like
weird.
Insurance.
It's definitely not weird. It is so not weird. It's like when you are planning really long vacations, like, you know, you want to go to the other side of Earth from wherever you live. You tend to plan those very far in advance because, you know, I'm going to take like a month off so I can fly there and do stuff on that side of Earth while I'm there. And then, you know, and you plan it years in advance. But you're going to go on vacation before then. You're going to take a week here or there and do something smaller scale. You know, I'll fly to Europe instead of Australia or something. It's definitely not weird. Because when you think about the scale, we don't know what Dear Moon's budget was. But these flights to ISS are tens of millions. Right?
Yeah,
I guess tourist flights were much less expensive than the NASA flights.
Maybe this is a good lesson in we don't know how billionaire brains work.
Yeah, or the scale, the magnitude of numbers is like
Jeff Bezos just bought a $500 million boat, and I don't really know how to process that. So like, maybe I should take that as a hint that like I can't follow down this line of reasoning.
You've never bought a boat with several other boats on it?
Yeah, my boats don't have support boats.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's so not weird. What I am interested in to see what. It sounded like he's taking somebody with him to help make videos on the station. And I want to know what kind of outreach he will be doing, because I think that would be a good leading indicator on how weird Dear Moon will be. And I think we talked about that last episode. We talked about how weird Dear Moon could be. And I want to know what kind of stuff he's going to get into on the ISS.
I have a low-key fear that the Dear Moon passengers, once they're finally selected, it's just going to turn out to be like he picked the hottest girls because he couldn't do his contest or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, my fear's higher than yours on that, I think.
You have a medium key fear on that?
Okay, but what's going on, man? I'm trying to determine here that there's levels of what's going on with selling all these seats to the ISS from Roscosmos' perspective. One is, legitimately, we don't have a lot of work for cosmonauts to do because all of our new modules are delayed. The other is, we're mad at NASA for not buying seats from us, so we're just going to sell seats to everyone. Which could easily turn into that half of the ISS being crazy and like being a party over there, and NASA trying to get work done on the other side, which is a weird thing, because now we've got so many astronauts going into the US side. We've got like many magnitudes more astronauts per year going up, and the Russians are like, we'll sell all of our seats. I don't know. And then the two cosmonauts that are flying on these missions were up there like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're clearly flying people that know the way around. Right?
I think they're a little broke, I think, is the big thing. They're just like, they're not bringing on new astronauts. And I think, I don't know. It really feels like the Russian space program, especially the ISS, it's just running on momentum. Like they're just doing it like sunk cost. Like we can't stop the ISS, obviously, and then that's just like the result of it. It's like that's how much desire there is to participate, and so you're seeing that reflected in the operations on ISS, because we've all heard those stories that the American astronauts are busting their butts like getting work done, and the Russians have 2-hour work days or whatever it is, and
sounds
play cards
great.
all day.
Like if I had to pick a side to fly to, man, going to hang out, you know.
But then and then there's all this whole still this like Cold War mentality, this competition where it's just like, if the US is doing something, Russia has to also be as good at it. And so, well, we're sending our own tourists up there.
Yeah,
And
right.
we're picking up our flight rate as well. And we're doing a movie in space as well. And we're sending cool billionaires to space as well. Like they're just, it's like little brother syndrome. So it's I don't know. That's my Russian space.
We're going to have a tough time picking titles on this episode. Yeah, so we got Chris G in the chat here. I see difference of that versus SpaceX selling seats. It's the in addition to thing. It's the like, there's tons of NASA, ESA, JAXA, Canadian astronauts going to station on their schedule that they already decided. And then every once in a while it's like, well, we got a port open. You want to come up for a week? And then you're hanging out, which is going to be a weird thing because it's going to be, we saw how busy the ISS was recently, so it's going to be crazy up there. But it's like the complete replacement of regular rotation missions. You know?
Yeah, because they're not ramping up their like cosmonauts on board. Like,
right, they're not flying the amount of cosmonauts they usually would and then adding a couple. I guess technically they are because they're doing like longer stays, and they said they only want to have 2 on at a time. Yeah, I think they're just mad that we're not buying seats.
I'm sure it's a little bit of it, right? And that's this flirting with China too is like, it's like a little bit like posturing, a little bit threat, a little bit like a little bit
like
everything.
They got the
right?
cash and we need it.
Yeah. You better like us. You better pay attention to us, or we're gonna go play with the bad guys, all right? So,
I kind of feel like Roscosmos should have just bought a lot of Bitcoin a couple years ago. Seemed like that would have been a better strategy.
Yeah, would have been smart.
Now you know our exit strategy. Do we have other? I don't know. I'm making our way down our list here, and one of these I don't know if it's spacey or not. But you had a dream that you would like to tell us about.
I did have a dream. So okay, it is a space dream, but it's. I don't like consider myself like an anxious person, but I do have like panicky dreams every once in a while, and this was like kind of one of those.
Panicky? What kind of panicky? Like you didn't do your homework panicky?
Just like I have to make decisions or do work and I don't know the next step, which is like my biggest stressor. Right? Like that's, we talk about that a lot where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And so like I had one of these dreams, but okay. So SLS, right? Fast forward a few months, it is stacked. We got the thing up on the boosters, Orion's on top, ready to go. They're rolling it out to the pad.
Oh God.
And it's like a big deal, right? And you know it's going to be a big deal. This is going to be like, when this happens, Brendan Burns is going to be down there reporting live for
standing
WMFE.
On the crawler with a lot of wind noise.
In the parking lot where they can just see the crawlway, right? And he's going to be watching it. And this thing's rolling out. And you and I are like watching it. I don't know if I think we didn't go. We were like remote watching this thing on NASA TV or something. And like, it's just like a little slight lean. It's within margins. Everything's fine. But in my dream, this like little bit of margin had some sort of weird, like cascading failure. So like it leans a little bit, which is fine, but it like put a little pressure on the rocket, which put a little more pressure on one of the bolts on the boosters, which like put a little more pressure on the structure underneath it. And then this like big gust of wind comes and the whole thing just falls over in my dream. Like, and it's empty, right? Like at this point, it's not got fuel in it. So it just falls over and like collapses on the crawlway in a big, like anticlimactic, like, put, like, cause it just crumples under its own weight basically. And the panicky dream part of it is that you and I are watching this and I'm just like, what do we do? Like, what does this mean? Right? Because you just watch like 20 years essentially of development just come to a complete, like, and we're like trying to go through all the eventual. I'm like, okay, well, I guess Artemis 1 is off for one. That's going to be happening. And then, and we're like working our way back. And then we're talking about like the congressional hearings and Bill Nelson being hauled up in front of Congress. And then like Boeing just getting lit up about stuff. And then Northrop Grumman. And it's like, there was so much like blowback from this whole thing. And then, yeah, it's like, did anyone get hurt? Like there's guys that walk by that thing when they're rolling it out there. And there was too much. It was like too much space news all at once. Like I just couldn't process it in my dream, and that was it.
How long was this dream? This sounds like it went on
like
forever.
3 minutes.
Okay,
No, it was like
really
minutes.
quick.
You just like wake up and you're like, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen. So that was my crazy.
Do you remember a lot of the visuals of the dream? Like was it cinematic, or were we sitting in this kind of stream position?
I think it was like just we were just here.
Because the way you were picturing the SLS butterfly effect of like this bolt blew, like I pictured you getting like a close-up camera angle, like it would be in a movie where like you see one boing thing go and then like a bolt fly.
No, this is like after the fact. We learned this in this. Like the actual event would have been just completely stupid. We're just like watching it. It would have been so boring to watch, and then it was just like plop.
Oh my gosh.
It just fell over, and we're like, wait, what just happened? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
You need to take some time off. This is
I really do. I really do.
This is the moment when you realize you got to stop thinking about this for a couple minutes.
Do you want to hear another funny SLS story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I sometimes make the joke that like a lot of people have opinions about SLS, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know if you know this, but I always kind of make the joke that I'm less bothered by it because I'm not footing the bill. I'm not an American taxpayer, so it's not on my bill, and so it's just really just like a thing that happens or it doesn't. It doesn't really affect me, but turns out that is no longer true. So about whatever it, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, we had the press conference for the Green Run, if you remember that. And I sent the email to NASA and got the press credentials. They sent they send you the phone number and the password. I dialed in. I was not paying attention, and it turns out the phone number was not a 1-800 number. It was
Lord,
I don't know, like a DC number or Alabama number or something. And I just called it and sat on the press conference for an hour and a half. And I got my phone bill a couple weeks ago, and I had like a $50 long distance charge from this stupid press conference.
And you were like, "What did I do?" Did you immediately know what it was, or did it take some digging to realize that it was the SLS call?
I was like, what? My phone bill never changes. It's like literally like it's like $50.40 every month, ding ding ding, like clockwork. And then it was like, boom, $90. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not. Look into it. I'm like, who did I call in this random times or area code for 90 minutes? Like, what was this call? And I was like, oh my god,
that is incredible.
Yeah. So, and then I was curious, and I went and looked up like the development costs of SLS and divided it by all the Americans, and it's about on par. So we're about the same now. You and I have both contributed.
We've contributed as much
to SLS. Mine went to AT&T or something, but we both spent it all. That is
amazing. Yeah. Well, eventually they pay taxes, so yeah, it gets there eventually. That's amazing. I would have loved if you called them and like fought that you never made this call, and then halfway through realized like, oh my gosh. You had a good question though in that, so it didn't lead to a good answer, but you did have a good question.
No, it never does. I've gone on like 4 SLS press conferences and tried to get like John Honeycutt to say something that wasn't like, from the canned press release, and failed. But.
Yeah, everyone thought you were moving to the US. Because you referenced moving, and then that you were going to pay for SLS. Jake loves SLS so much and is worried about the karma that he has inflicted on it with his dream, that he has moved to the U.S. and paid
I want to
taxes.
start contributing to this. No, I'm not moving to the U.S. I am. I'm going somewhere more fun than that. So
ominous.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Do you want to talk about life stuff? You've been you're coming down off the Mars mania, and I'm curious how you're dealing with that.
Man, I'm tired. It took a couple weeks for it to like wear out, and like we had like whatever, you do all the landings in like February, and then it was like, okay, fine, and then March was just like getting everything online, and then Ingenuity started in April and doing all that, and then finally Zhurong landed, and so like it's like finally kind of over. Like most of the big Mars news. Most of the Mars, so starting back from like July of last year to now has been like crazy. 3 missions, it's too much for me to cover in one launch cycle. So 2 is the max. Listen, space agencies listening, 2 is the max I will allow for all future launch cycles.
You're gonna have to hire some staff for future launch windows, I think.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I need to grow a little more. But I have been taking time off. I have not been going pedal to the metal 50 hours a week like I did before for the last couple of weeks because I needed it. There was just days and I was like sitting in front of my computer with stuff to do, and I'm like, it's not happening. It's not happening. Like I gotta just go and do something else because it's not working. So it's been a little bit of burnout. So yeah, but, I know you've maybe been feeling some of that too lately.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that as like general like trend. I know there's some other spacey folks out there who have like, I work too hard. I need some time off for a minute. So it felt like there was a wave that I can't. It's hard to separate like pandemic burnout and that everyone's feeling now, and then space news generally has been nutty. So trying to cover stuff, it's been crazy. Yeah, and I don't know. There was one week when I was like, I don't think I can do headlines this week, so I'm just gonna bail on that. And everyone is super cool about it. That's the great part, is everyone's like, oh, we get it. We're totally cool. As they're great. We do this stuff, so we kind of feel like, we're not on the nightly news. But then sometimes you do feel like, but I do a show. Like I need to do it I need to be super regular. So it's always cool when people are like, no, go away. And I'm expecting that when everyone hears about your SLS stream for you to get a wave of those. That was horrible.
Yeah. Well, I will take some time off, so it'll be good. But yeah, I know it's definitely been, and I think I think people like you and I are in a unique position. I mean, we're not the only ones, but people who have been covering space for like at least 4 or 5 years, because the quantity of space news has ramped up pretty significantly, especially in like the last 2 years. And so people like us who are more like, we were kind of in a habit and we were comfortable like paying a little bit of attention to everything. And that's becoming like unsustainable.
Yes.
Like there's just, if you want to cover launch and satellites and planetary and policy and space business, and you want to cover all the different beats, like at least pay attention to it and read all the articles, like it's becoming harder and harder to do. Like the specialization factor is like starting to weigh in. And I think I feel that pull like to a point where I'm like, I got to pick something to drop, where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to even pay attention to UFOs or whatever it is. Like,
just to name one.
Some space thing. But like I'm feeling that more and more, right?
That's a good point. I was always trying to figure out if it is more news, or if like we are getting more familiar with stuff so we can dig deeper into details more comfortably. And we were able to like realize what was and was not news, like in a good way and a bad way, I guess. Like I'm not going to talk about this weird announcement of a Lockheed Martin lunar rover.
I was just thinking that too.
That is not a news
what's news
thing.
And what isn't. I was like,
yeah, that was not a news thing. And I think it can go one of two ways when you're like starting out trying to do this kind of thing, is that everything is news, or like only 4 stories are, like whatever SpaceX did recently, whatever NASA announced recently, and that's it, And you got to be able to, I mean, half of sorting out, making a rundown of a show is like figuring out what doesn't go in there.
Yeah.
And that's a muscle to exercise. Like this thing doesn't deserve my attention, nor the people listening's attention. I'm going to not talk about that.
I had that struggle this week with all the human landing system drama that's going on, right? Because there's like so much being written about it and so much being said about it. I'm trying to like parse it all, and I'm just like, I don't think there's enough this week for me to talk about it. But I still have to spend the time on it, right? I still have to like parse it. And
you have to sort out why it isn't.
Yeah.
So you do the work, even if no one ever hears about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like my Red Planet review, when I first started, it was like every week I would sit down for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of like reading and typing notes, and then 30 minutes you're recorded and published and good to go. Now it's like 3 hours of research, and then I think my flow is almost all in. It's almost about 4 hours now, so it's like it's getting a little longer to do those things, and so it's a lot. But
it's also tricky where we have 2 ends of the spectrum. I think between us is that you have an interview show primarily, but occasionally it's just you doing your thing, and I'm the inverse, where like it's mostly me doing my thing and occasionally interview. And I'm realizing I need to do a middle ground, because I do a show when I have like an interesting thought to add to the conversation. So you will never hear me do a show that's just news unless you're paying for headlines, which is literally just news. And I guess I give a lot of opinions there as well. But the main show is like analysis and opinion, which is hard to come up with. But booking guests is also impossible to do because it's so much work to do that. So I'm like, how do I nail the middle of that where it's because the frequency of things that I'm analyzing seems to drop as more news happens because there's a lot of things happening, not like theoretically happening, which is more of where the analysis is. So I wonder if you have a TikTok cycle of launch windows, and I feel like I have a TikTok cycle of proposed things and then things happening.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know. This is the theory.
I haven't thought of your content that way, but I think you're kind of right on that. Yeah.
You can look at the slow periods in my main show, and there's just a lot of things happening then, and the busy periods are when there's a lot of things being talked about.
Yours is probably a lot more connected to like just the normal human annual cycle, right? Where like there's down times in the summer and the holidays, right? Yeah. People tend to like do during the fall and the spring and get to work in the off periods, right?
The summer of low attention, as we're coming up on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed inside baseball portion of Off-Nominal.
I'm really glad you mentioned the interview thing though, because that is like, it's more work than it sounds like. And because I sometimes make the joke that I'm like, yeah, I do interviews because then the guest just makes all the content for you, which makes it sound like it's really easy, but like, holy smokes. Especially like, so I ramped up from every 3 weeks to every 2 weeks this year once I went full time. And that difference, it like crossed a threshold where I have to think more than one episode ahead at a time. Like I can't, I used to be able to just like produce a show, find a guest, record it, produce a show. But now I'm just like, while I'm recording and producing one, I'm thinking about the ones after that. And it's like, and it added a whole new dynamic to it. And it's like super interesting. So
it's an iceberg problem where people listening see the guests that did get booked, but don't see all the guests that you reach out to, and like scheduling was weird, or
the ones you get ghosted by.
You didn't hear back, or like you had them on your list, but you knew that reaching out to them means you have to do a lot of research into their thing, and you don't have the time for that. There's all of those various things that happen that makes it impossible.
Yeah,
so it's a weird thing to keep up on.
So. Yeah, I'm always torn too between like trying to find something that's topical. So, and it's been very topical for me lately, right?
Yeah,
mostly just covering all this Mars stuff. But then like, sometimes I just think it's important to just like pick some random interesting topic that is in no way in the news and just do a deep dive for fun. So now that we're through all that, I hope I can do a couple more of those.
I was going to say, do you want to talk at all about your long running project that was the Patreon goal that you hit?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it, haven't I?
I think so, but I don't know if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's going interestingly. So I'm doing this audio documentary on the Atlas rocket because we had it as a goal for 250 patrons, which we hit with the most recent Going Pro thing, which is awesome. But this is like the most intense research I've done for a project. I've done sort of things that were like whatever, a 40-minute episode, and you do some research, record some interviews, and you're done. But this, like, I'm thinking this is going to end up being 2 to 3 hours, and it's like not a small thing. So. Yeah. I'm reading books, like I got this thing going right now for Atlas early history.
Let me see that picture again.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Atlas, the ultimate weapon. Look at that drop shadow going on behind the block letters. This is like super 1996 kind of stuff. But that's awesome.
But then you can't just have one source, right? So you're like reading all this stuff, and another book is my pick. I'll talk about that later. But it's cool. So like you got to like learn this stuff and then like find sources for it and like fact check it, put it all together in a narrative. I want to get interviews with it as well. So like I have to kind of get my shit together first and like figure out what you want to
say, and then
find the people, reach out to them, record those interviews, and then the massive like editing job. So it's pretty significant. I kind of feel like I know what Tim Dodd goes through now when he makes his giant videos, because like this is not nothing. So I mean, I put hours and hours into this already, and I don't think I'm at halfway point yet. So
the important question I have is that, are you going to have a Dan Carlin quote voice when you're reading a quote?
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that. Like, do I need to do that? Like, is that like I kept asking myself, is that like a normal like audio documentary thing, or is that a Dan Carlin thing? I think it's a Dan Carlin thing, and if I do it, I'm just going to sound like
But
a cheap
I don't think you should try to do Dan Carlin's quote voice because no one can pull that off. But a different voice is helpful. It's a good affordance to your listening experience.
Yeah, there is some UX to that he does, right? So, I don't know. I think
I would love.
I'll try to avoid.
Maybe we should get Dan Carlin to come on this podcast and talk about
that'd be
producing historical content when you do this and you release it. We should do that.
I bet I could get him to talk about because this Atlas thing is starting at World War II, man. I bet I could get him to talk about some of the stuff.
You should get him to yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, now I've committed to it on the air.
You got to do it. Man.
Yeah. No, it's good. That would be like a total fanboy episode. Did you ever listen to he had on Tom Hanks one of his episodes?
Yes, I did listen to that.
He was like fanboying because he had Tom Hanks on. I'm like, that would be like if Dan Carlin
but
came
also
on
Tom
here.
Hanks was fanboying because he was talking to Dan Carlin. Yeah. That's a good pick from both me and Jake is that episode. I'll put that in the notes. Carlin,
with his movie, right? What's the movie called?
Greyhound,
the ship. Yeah.
Cool. Do we want to? We're at the pick time, and
are we there already? Holy smokes!
I think
we've been talking a lot. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So I have so continuing on the Atlas rocket thing. So this is the first book that I've actually finished. So this is Bossert, America's Forgotten Rocket Science. So this guy here, Charlie Bossert, basically invented Atlas. So this is sort of his biography. Talks about a little bit his growing up in Europe and some of the, during World War II, he's watched his city of Antwerp get bombed by the Germans with V2s, and that plays into his upbringing and stuff. And there's like a lot of cool backstory of him coming over to America and his experience with airplanes and what he learned like from airplanes. The author like really charts this course like through his exposure in World War II, his exposure to helicopters and fixed wing, and the work he does in like aerodynamics and like how it all like becomes Atlas, and it's like super fascinating.
Wow.
So it's been pretty good.
I gotta get
goes all over the place, but it's a good book, so I definitely recommend it. And it's a pretty easy read too. It's not that long, big text,
Does it get to the point at which him and von Braun are kind of like the faces of heavy versus light structure rockets?
Yes.
And that they were kind of seen as like the competing. I don't think I realized like the Antwerp. It's just weird.
Well, because you think about
V2,
and the first thing you think about is London got all the V2s, but Antwerp got way more. Antwerp was the place that V2s fell. So there's like this weird dichotomy because von Braun becomes like a very well-known figure in rocketry, but they vehemently disagreed on some of these things, right? So like because Bossert is sort of known for the very lightweight airframe. That was like what he brought from airplanes.
Balloon tanks, essentially.
Balloon tanks, so pressure fed, like Atlas would crumple under its own weight if it didn't have pressurization inside it. Did in fact.
Pulled the old SLS butterfly effect scenario happened.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Maybe that's why you had that dream.
Maybe, man, because the crumpling rocket is in my brain, right? So but yeah, so like you can see that kind of thing where he was like the early engineers for not for Atlas, but there was like this precursor project that they were working on at Convair as like the earliest rocket that he did, this MX774 project. And they started it kind of Operation Paperclip had been going on. And so like the Americans were sniping all these German engineers out of Germany and bringing them to America. But they didn't have the V2s yet. All the V2 inventory hadn't made over yet. And so they were literally taking like Life magazines where there was pictures of it, and they were like measuring it on the Life magazine and trying to reverse engineer the V2.
They were doing what all SpaceX fans do
today. Counting pixels on starships. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. So they were doing that, and it's a pretty cool story. Just them looking at this, and then he's just like, "This is a dumb idea." They're like 2 separate tanks for the fuel and the oxidizer slotted inside another fuselage. There's like double wall. Like it's so much extra weight, and the way he explains it, you're like, "Man, V2 sucks. What a stupid rocket."
It sounds like Starhopper.
Yeah, totally.
So wait, did they have any interaction? Because historically, everyone says von Braun was for heavy structures, Bossert was for light structures. But did they ever communicate?
They did, yeah. They've met a few times. They don't cover a lot of that in this book, but
I would love to
they have met.
Experience that. Just
be
a fly on the wall when they were hanging out. Just because the history, the way it's intertwined, is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this stuff too, like they were on kind of really different paths because Atlas was really it was a weapon first, right? Like he built it to be this ICBM, and it had a very short history. Like they crash course development, and they were done in like whatever the first one flew in 1956, 7, somewhere in there. They were ready to go, and it was operational. And like 3-4 years later, it was done. They just like decommissioned it. Titan took over, and that was like the end of Atlas. And they're like, what do we do with all this inventory? And boom, space rocket, right? So, seeing that path versus the army stuff with the Redstone, whatever with von Braun, like it's all different parts of the country, and it's pretty disconnected. So it's a totally different. Like this is really all the space history I know about rockets seem to focus on von Braun, and like this is to me this is even better story. Like this is I love
got to
this
read
stuff.
that.
So I'm even more excited about Atlas now than I was before.
I'm not sure why I didn't read that around the same time as I think a pick that I had on like single digits Off-Nominal was Taming Hydrogen. I think that was the name. Taming Liquid Hydrogen, about Centaur. It was was the books that you're reading, but about Centaur itself. So it had a lot of crossovers, but I feel like that would have paired nicely together.
This one's gonna have more Centaur in it. This Atlas Ultimate Weapon one, and I'm not very far into this one because this is more like a technical manual. It's like got diagrams and it tells you how the rocket works. And I wanted to get the story first. So yeah, it's cool stuff, man. It's really neat. And then after this, I'm going to dig into more of the transition to the space rocket and what it actually does for the crazy amount of work that Atlas did, in space, Atlas Centaur and Mercury Atlas and all that good stuff. So
Amazon Kuiper.
Yeah, Kuiper. Yeah, exactly. The last hurrah of Atlas. Yeah.
All right, I've got a happening now pick. This is one you got to jump on this train, like right now, and you've got a couple of weeks to months to do it. Occasionally, astronauts go to the ISS that are a lot of fun to follow along with, and Thomas Pesquet is like incredible. His energy on the ISS is exactly. He's doing the kind of hijinks that I think we would do if we got 2 seats on a Soyuz and went up to hang out. Like he's
okay. All right.
I'm just gonna pull up 2 examples here because I've got links in the show notes to his Twitter and his Flickr. You need to be following both because number one, he's like legitimately taking great photos of space and everything, but also you can see his hijinks as well. So just to show a little bit of this, they had a birthday party for Victor Glover on the station. And there's a saxophone and like a keyboard, and I don't know where any of these came from, but they had a full-on birthday party for Victor Glover, which is excellent. So these are the kind of photos that you can experience from Thomas Pesquet. And then Twitter, his Twitter is also great. This is my favorite because Mike Hopkins, after Victor Glover and crew came back down, they got vaccinated. And Mike Hopkins tweeted this photo of them all flexing with their vaccines.
I know why you like this photo.
Also, they're just all ripped collectively.
You love Victor Glover's guns.
I mean, yeah, that's goals right there. Mike Hopkins is also loaded. But Thomas Pesquet then just tweeted back this photo of him flexing with like the 2 for Crew 2 on the station. And I love he's got enough time to shitpost back at Crew 1 from the station. It's excellent. He's a great. I think actually if I go back into his Flickr here, he got the entire Crew 2. He's wearing like rugby jerseys on the station, and he's got a rugby ball up there. I don't know. Rugby ball is probably the wrong term. Look, he's got like all of Crew 2 flexing on the station. Like he's just doing hijinks up there that are excellent. So I think you need to be following Thomas Pesquet up there. Am I saying that as with enough of a flair
great,
to it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Pesquet, yeah.
He's great. You gotta get on this. It's
cool.
fun.
Yeah, good dude. There's gonna be some good ISS stuff coming up for so many people up there. Like, it's a party for
just
sure.
a little extra time in the schedule and more people.
Yeah.
More personalities.
And we got Samantha Cristoforetti now just got announced commander for Crew
For
4, I
Yeah.
think, expedition, whatever that is, 68 maybe. But yeah, that's going to be really fun too. She's so awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. There's like so many astronauts up there. It's like awesome. I love it.
And then there's going to be just a bunch of randos too.
Yeah, a bunch of random filmmakers and fashion designers and actors. All right.
Well,
It's gonna be interesting.
is this where we do what are you working on?
Yeah. You go first. I got lots. So
It's as we just were discussing, it's interview season because apparently there's not a lot happening that I have thoughts on. So I was like, this is a good time to send out 1,000 interviews.
you don't want to weigh in with how we should take all this drama in Congress, like. I know you're like triggered by it. So
I'm not even triggered by it. It's just like the NASA budget came out today, and before this, I mentioned to Jake that I look at it like NASA fanfic because it's like, when is the last time that it had any bearing on NASA's budget? I don't know when, but it gets a nice news cycle out of it. Everyone talks about it. That's drama, whatever. Not doing that. So what I did was I sent a bunch of emails, and Jake, never expected this in my life. DARPA emailed me back first. Like, what? You were like, what is DARPA? I don't know what DARPA is.
Yeah.
Mostly because you don't know about UFOs.
DARPA goes up with UFOs in my head.
Things that you don't track.
Yeah. I'm like, they do the mind control. Like, I learned everything I know about DARPA, I learned from the X-Files. So it's mind control. And
you nailed it. Yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know. DARPA, we talked to the Brock Howe, who's the manager for the Nanoracks airlock on station.
Yeah.
That was cool. I think you'll be into that one because it's a lot of operational stuff.
I did listen to it. It's good, yeah.
I got some other ones cooking as well. So it's interview season right now. That's what I got.
Cool, man.
That's it.
That's good. Yeah.
That's it. Oh, I can do do you want to see Will wearing a Rocket Lab shirt?
I absolutely do.
I can pull that up. This is we should have put this in the life update section. Here's Will wearing a Rocket Lab shirt. There he is. He's doing his thing.
He's so cute.
This is courtesy of one of our listeners in the Off-Nominal Discord as well. So he was loving the it says future launch team on there.
Okay,
so
awesome.
He's definitely pulling for Rocket Lab to get back flying. So, I mean, it's likely that'll be his first rocket launch, is Electron out of Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So,
how old does he have to be before he'll remember that? What are you waiting for?
Well, right now I'm waiting for Electron to fly out of Virginia. Is number one what I'm waiting for. That's like, why are you waiting to take him to a Flyers game? Number one, I'm waiting for the Flyers to still be playing and also not be a pandemic. Yeah, that's really all I'm waiting on. So,
okay,
whatever. When is he gonna remember? What do you remember? When you're a couple years old, But you have good photos of you being a year old, going places.
Yeah. I think like 4 or 5 is when I started. 5 maybe when I start remembering things. Yeah.
So he's gonna go to a couple before that. Just logistically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can't put him in.
He might be there when SLS crumples. I don't know.
When it falls over on the goddamn crawlway.
What do you got going on?
I got lots going on right now. So yeah, we 100th episode of We Martians came out this week. So it was we had Andrew Jones on to talk about Zhu Rong, the Chinese rover. But it's funny because like I was thinking about like what I want to do for this 100th episode. Do I want to have a big, like some sort of special episode? Like, do I bring on like a bunch of guests and have a party or whatever? And I was kind of like, you know what? No, like the most fun thing is just to do the work, right? Just have the same interviews and whatever. So instead of like having a special episode, I just did like a whole special event for all the listeners and stuff. So the shop it's cooking right now for sales. I just wanted to like give a bunch of stuff back. So we're doing a giveaway, which I do want to offer to all the Off-Nominal listeners. All you have to do is sign up for the mailing list that I have, which is low velocity, low spam. Like it's 1 email a month, and it's always something interesting. You sign up for that. I'm going to draw 3 winners from there to get a $25 gift card in the store. I've been putting a ton of designs in the store. Like my goal this year is like a new design of some kind every month. So there's like a whole bunch of crap going out there.
Good crap, not bad crap. Crap isn't good crap.
And this is like the design that the Tharsis Planetary Park design that I have is the one that kind of came out with this event, because on Sunday, the May 30th, it's the 50th anniversary of the Mariner 9 mission, which is the first orbiter at Mars, and that's the orbiter that discovered the Tharsis mountain range. And so we made this little shirt there. You can get it on a shirt or a mug, which is kind of fun. All sorts of cuts, men's, women's, kids, all that stuff. And then there's like an Ingenuity coffee mug we made. There's sticker packs, there's Starship shirts, there's parachute shirts from the Perseverance rover.
The parachute shirt, man, I've been wearing mine to death.
Yeah, it's a cool shirt, right? It's
a great shirt.
This one took off. This has been my most popular design ever because some people. So my theory is it got onto a Slack channel somewhere at Airborne Systems, which is the company that made that parachute, because I sold a lot of shirts to some folks who work there, which is awesome. Like it's like the most joyful thing for me to see that they like it. But there's lots of good stuff going on there. So you buy any 2 items and it's free shipping right now. Just use the code WM100. And there's just the cool stuff. So discounted stickers, discounted mission patches. I'm going all out. So it's just I wanted to kind of give back. And then also if you're not a patron of me right now, if you join at the $5 level, you will also get a sticker pack for free, which is cool. And we got some fun stuff in there. So I just wanted to just like give.
Blowing it out.
Yeah, just blowing it out. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and people have been, taking advantage of it, which is great. And I hope to get some cool new space merch out there. And I'm discontinuing a bunch too. So there's like a whole bunch of designs on there. So the problem with one new design a month is that my SKU count's getting a little out of control. So all the old stuff that's kind of past its prime, I'm blowing out. So last chance to get it. I think June 6th is like the last day that all the stuff will be available. So
how about the one that would live in the Off-Nominal shop if it existed?
Yeah, if there was an Off-Nominal shop. This was so much fun. This was more fun to make and market than it was to actually sell.
Yeah, the NASA Comic Sans worm.
It's the NASA worm logo, but written in Comic Sans font. So it is like so offensive. It is like just like egregiously wrong. And people were tweeting it. They're like, I hate this. And then they would buy 3 of them, you know? And so it was really fun to see on Twitter. It was a good one to go around. So,
I'm not going to talk out of school too much, but we got one excellent, I think it was a DM on Twitter that was like, why are you doing this? The creator would really hate this.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work that went around this last year, and they would distinctly hate this.
Yeah. And, I felt kind of bad because at some point, like a few days after I launched this, the designer for the NASA worm, like the original guy, he passed away.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, oh no, I killed the guy with my Comic Sans.
No, I think like internet culture understands this.
Yeah.
Design culture understands this. Like, on a different level.
It is a crossover of a bunch of weird stuff. So, but it was fun. So lots of stuff going on. So I've been putting more work into my shop than some people might realize. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. There's been some cool stuff going on there, and I appreciate all your support.
Boom.
Yeah.
Have fun with the summer of low attention.
Yeah. So, I mean, I should also just say that just like some housekeeping. I mentioned this is the last time you'll see this room. So I am leaving Vancouver. I'm going to spend the summer with my family in Alberta because I haven't seen them since the pandemic started. You'll see a new room here. I will not be on the next episode. So, Anthony, I am putting it all on your plate.
Yeah, you've done 2 Anthony-less episode. One time I was on vacation in Italy, and one time I had a child.
Yeah, you had a baby. So 1 month from now, which is when we would normally be doing this, I will be all of my crap will be in a truck somewhere, and I will be driving across the country. So so I'm going to spend some time with my family in Alberta, and then on to some new adventures, which I'll share more later.
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
and he's going to take some time off so he doesn't have any more dreams of
a little bit of time off in there too. So. I'm pre-recording some interviews to get them all lined up so that I can just kind of chill.
Flush the memory. You need a hard reset. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Boop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End of test. That's me doing the outro.
I loved it. It was
Should I leave that as the regular one? Oh, should I put that music back in?
If it works.
Oh, you can hear me doing things. All right.
There we go.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. That was the most different off-nominal of the off-nominals.
It was kind of fun. I liked it.
Loose.
We clearly had some like garbage collection to do in our brain of just like random things that were piling up, and
Yeah.
we needed to just get them
Get
out.
them all out. Garbage collection. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what kind of title to do for this one.
I think there's a lot in there to choose from. I think you'll be just fine. Some of the people in the chat were giving you some suggestions. So
I know, I gotta dig through. I don't know what to go with. We should set up one of them voting systems that people, can do it as we go. The way it usually works for some behind-the-scenes content is that whoever does the edit listens back and then just like grabs the titles that are potentials and then sends a Discord message with like a list of random phrases that we said. And then we just pick one randomly based on like little to no scrutiny.
Anthony's being modest when he said whoever does the edit, what he meant was him. when Anthony does the edit, he sends it to me.
You know. Well.
Anyway, say goodbye to my my posters. Bye posters.
Well, you're not bringing them?
Well, I'm bringing them. I just don't know when you'll see them.
Oh,
next,
true.
so.
Right.
Yeah. I may not set them up at my mom's place, but we'll see.
We were discussing this before the stream. I'm really hoping to redo my desk with some new hardware soon. Just to get a different camera setup, a different backdrop. I got some work to do.
Yep, me too. We'll see. I want to do something different. I really love this office that I renovated. Like I made it like into my off-nominal. Like even this is off-nominal gray here. Like we color matched it and got the rocket and stuff. But now you've done one. You're like, now you know all the things you like and all the things you wish you'd done differently. And now like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. Like I want to do it again.
Yeah. Do you think the people are going to keep your off-nominal wall?
I don't know. The people who bought my house are about to have a kid, so this is going to be the nursery. I don't know, man. Like it's sort of a feature wall. I don't know if you can see, but the ceiling is done that color too. Yeah. So there's just this wall.
They're going to change everything,
ceiling, and then the rest, like you can see, is like all white. But it's
they're going to change it
all.
all.
What they do. Yeah. I don't know, like, do you want to have a black a wall for your kid? Maybe, I don't know. I like it, but I also don't have kids, so.
I mean, they could work it into something interesting.
Maybe, yeah. I'm really curious to see what they're gonna do with my weird IKEA placemat.
Oh, you're not taking that down? The James Webb Space Telescope sound protection?
It's literally placemats from IKEA that my wife cut into hexagons and we glue gun them to the wall. So like they come off, like you just pull on them and they come off. So like they're very low tech.
That's super James Webby.
Yeah, totally. Do
you remember how James Webb is coming up? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about. We were meant to talk about upcoming space events, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did.
I totally forgot about that.
Well, maybe we'll just do it now as bonus content.
Yeah, bonus content.
Bonus content. What do you want to fly to see? James Webb is probably not one of them because it's going to be in Kourou.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty
I don't
cool.
really know the logistics of that, though.
Asperger.
The current... Yeah, well, we have direct connection to the person who got Burger there.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll fill you in.
Okay.
I just meant, like, literally the pandemic logistics.
Getting a flight there and stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's the vaccine level in French Guiana, right?
Well, and even like just the policy generally, regardless, because like even New Zealand right now, like even if you're vaccinated, when you fly there, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks and then go through some other stuff and.
Yeah.
Like it, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy right now, right?
You're gonna locally readjust a lot quicker before everyone everywhere can do stuff without thinking about it. So that one's tricky, but I really wanted to go to a Virginia launch. It seems unlikely that one will be happening in the near future. I mean, there's Antares, but I don't need to go see more Antares. Sorry. Sorry, Pat, if you're listening. He's the one person that would get mad at me for my Antares hate. Last show when Miriam said Inspiration 4 would be like a big one, I didn't consider that until she said that.
Yeah. When is that supposed to be again? Like this fall?
September-ish?
September?
Yeah. Here's the truth about my... I love going to launches, and I'm going to continue to go to like one a year minimum. But I think I get a lot more out of not launches if I'm going to dedicate time to space travel. Space.
Yeah. Going to a launch is like, it's awesome for the personal experience, but like generating content from it is, for a podcast, it's like a little tougher, right? Like you go, you record the launch audio, and then you just fill time. So it's like, it's tough, right?
It's more for like meet some people you haven't seen in a while, talk. It's a non-content trip.
Unless you can do interviews. Like if I was really glad that I went to Insight because I got to go into that little press room thing and talk to the PI. Like they were all just available. Like there's like, that was the point of the event. They were just, everybody was there. You signed a little sheet and said, I want to talk to this person, and you got that interview. And that is a good content. So like, I'm really glad I did that. But Falcon Heavy, it was more just for fun.
Yeah.
That was the first time you and I met. We got to just meet. That was a networking event more than it was a content generating event, right? So yeah, I can see what you mean by that.
So the other things that are in my head is like Space Symposium was going to be the one that I went to, the conference that I went to when the pandemic killed everything. Yeah. And that one seems like an Anthony event to go to.
It does.
And then the other thing is just to like go to LA for a week and just go to all the factories.
See who will let you in.
Because everyone's there now, right? Like,
yeah.
Pop into SpaceX.
I can't do that one. You can do that one, but I can't do that one.
Why not? Yeah, I mean JPL.
No, it'll be ITAR stuff, right? So.
Oh yeah, the foreign nats. Yeah, right. But there's just so many factories. Spin launch, everyone's favorite in the off-nominal community.
Yeah. No, I've been thinking about it too, like, and trying to plan, because I have a couple like big ones that I'm considering, but same sort of thing as like the pandemic. Like I have no idea. Even if I'm vaccinated, like, is it going to be fun? I don't know. Like, is it going to be so much shit? So like IAC this year is in Dubai, and I've always wanted to go to Dubai, and there's going to be a bunch of Mars Hope stuff. And I think it would just be like a really fun trip, but like, I don't know, October.
It's pretty soon. Yeah.
It's a long way to fly. And it's not going to be cheap. And the networking part's probably not going to be that good because I doubt a lot of the Western media is going to make that trip.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because you have to not only consider like the local situation about the pandemic, but like you're hoping the international people fly in from all over.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like, well, every country's not going to be wrapped up by then. That's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, and the UAE is doing good. They're pretty heavily vaccinated, but like it's.
Yeah, but nobody we talked to, I mean, we talked to some people from the US at IC when we went, but there was a lot that we were like, oh, wow. Like these people from UAE are here. These empty booths from China because no one was allowed in on the day before, whatever.
With the flyers on the table.
And then, but it was like, all the European agencies were there and the companies were there and Surrey Satellites where I could talk to them. And
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that one, but my wife was encouraging me to think about it because she's like, when are you going to, like, she doesn't want to visit the Middle East and I do. And so she's like, when are you going to get a good opportunity to go and visit the Middle East by yourself? Like, I was like, well, okay.
Solid point.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about.
I mean, if you find a flight that's not terrible, then yeah.
Yeah. So there's that one I'm thinking about. And then, but there's like a pretty significant amount of launches I want to see because I want to see the Vulcan inaugural launch. I think would be pretty interesting. Who knows when that's going to be?
You're going to be fine with the pandemic by the time that launches.
Well, sure, but I just like all these things may be happening at the kind of same time because you got like Artemis 1 I want to go to as well, which might be around the same time as Vulcan. You don't think so? No? Later? SLS going to beat it? Okay, all right. Because I'll take your nod as secret stuff. But anyway, like even if it's within 6 months of each other, like I gotta think
Right,
about
right,
that.
right.
Right? I don't want to travel every month. So there's that.
You certainly don't want the
and
person
then-
at KSC to remember that you were the last foreign national that they had to babysit.
Yeah. And then the completely far-fetched one that I still don't want to let go is I would love to watch XMR's launch from Kazakhstan, which would be just an incredible experience, I think. Very expensive. I would probably have to do like a Kickstarter or something to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so I was talking to one of our past guests, Elizabeth Howell, because she went.
Yeah, she went.
She's
right.
Canadian journalist that went to the launch of David Saint-Jacques. So I talked to her, and basically what you do is you like get your own way to Moscow, and then you have to liaise with with Roscosmos, and you have to charter a flight, and you book a flight from Moscow to Baikonur. It's like $5,000 just for that part of it, right? Like and they take care of everything. They fly you in, they give you accommodations, they feed you. It's like an all-inclusive trip from Moscow is what they sell you as a journalist. So like when you add in the Moscow flights, like you're talking like this is going to be an $8,000 trip that I got to think about, right? So, but I don't know, like.
I think you could cover that with a Kickstarter, honestly.
I probably could. It's just like, and I think about it just because like.
Even if you covered half of the Kickstarter, it seems like you could do it.
Yeah. I mean, how many more Protons are going to launch? How many more opportunities are you going to watch like a heavy lift vehicle go from Baikonur, historic launch pad? Like, it seems like a pretty cool.
How many more times can you breathe in hypergulls?
I want to find out where
you gotta get, dude. If you go, you gotta convince Richard Garriott to go with you. No, that's it. That's the thing right there. Get him to go with you.
I'll get him to fund it. Like, hey, come with me. Yeah,
it's not a bad plan.
So yeah, I mean, I think that would be a trip of a lifetime, and I could get some pretty cool XMR's content out of it.
He legitimately might go with you.
He might.
I think he liked his appearance on the show. I think you got a shot.
We got to get him on again and sweet talk him.
Here's what we do. We called two past guests.
Put him on the spot.
We called two past guests. We call JB. Say, Jay, what can we do? And then we call Richard Garriott, and we go with Richard Garriott. JB can help smooth things over from the foreign national perspective.
Hey, JB,
Richard brings the historical
step away
connection.
from your board of directors cushy job, whatever you have right now, and do some diplomatic calls for me. Yeah.
Have we talked about on this show the JB on the laptop thing? That should have been our pick. That photo.
That's got to be like an off nominee at the end of the year because it is so funny.
I love that. The one thing we left out of this discussion is Starship.
Mm-hmm.
The orbital.
Yeah.
It's impossible to schedule. So like maybe it works out.
Impossible. It could be September. It could be September next year. I don't even know. But I do want to go to that too. So, yeah, I mean, but the other thing, like the place that I'm moving to, may be able to see that launch from where I am. So,
yeah, but
it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
There's going to be an energy at Boca Chica for that first launch that I kind of don't want to miss.
I thought you were going to say that you don't want any parts of. I couldn't tell which way that was going to go.
It's okay. So fair. It's a little bit of both, right? Where I'm going to be like, you, let's hang out. You, don't talk to me.
I think we should charter the DM2 boaters. That's what I think we should do.
Yeah, I need 3 boats.
Booze cruise.
I need 6 Trump flags, and we're gonna go
and a
watch
Starlink connection.
Yeah, and a Starlink connection. Anyway,
I would do that 100%. All of those details, I would do it. I'm there.
Yeah, because we need to do some like part of these return to flight for us post pandemic. Return to flight off nominal travel needs to be a meetup as well.
Exactly.
Right? So we need to figure out what we want to do for that. And it sounds like everybody wants to go to Boca Chica, but
yeah,
we'll see, man. It's all up in the air still.
What's this laptop thing? We got to put a link for the JB on the laptop in the Discord.
The border is still technically closed between the U.S. and Canada till like another 3 weeks is the last update they've given. It sounds like it's pretty close, but they're still doing that. But we still have, like, if you leave the country right now and come back, you still have to do like a 2-week quarantine. So it's depending on the timing, it's going to be either easy or hard for me. But we'll see. Yeah, Baikonur meetup. That's what we need to do. Who's there with me?
You and Dimitri.
Yeah, put a Russian flag in the chat if you're going to show up to the, or put a Kazakh flag in the chat if you're going to show up to the Baikonur meetup. Waiting.
They're like trying to find the emoji.
Yeah, they're like, what is the flag?
The Ireland flag?
The Ireland. Yeah. Nope, that's the Ivory Coast flag.
All right, I gotta bounce. I gotta go get Will.
Yeah, and you gotta eat dinner, I guess.
Yeah, in a little bit. Thanks for hanging out, everyone.
This was fun.
Excellent. Enjoy the summer weekend. May 2-4 or whatever. May long.
May 2-4. Yeah, May long.
See y'all.
Bye.